Hello and welcome to HQ Movie Review. I'm Rachel.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Heather.
Josh is not with us today. He was eaten by a dinosaur because we did watch Jurassic Park.
It's weird how that dinosaur just like came out of the screen and ate him.
Yeah, absolutely tragic.
weird.
He will be missed.
But we do have a new pet dinosaur, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah.
I've named him Rex.
Oh, that's a bit reductive.
It is.
So, thoughts on the movie? Just overall thoughts.
I love Jurassic Park. I love the whole franchise. I'm always very excited to have the opportunity to watch them.
Yeah, definitely same.
No, it's one of the best movie franchises out there, really.
I thought it was good. I mean, I probably wouldn't watch it again. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't watch any of the other movies again, but
A real movie buff here.
This was your first time seeing Jurassic Park, wasn't it?
yeah. I
Well.
haven't seen any of the original trilogy.
Welcome.
All right, cool.
Welcome to one of the most groundbreaking movies.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's a bad movie, just that I personally wouldn't watch it again.
When you said the original trilogy, I really thought you were just going to pivot to Star Wars for
Nope.
some reason.
Yeah, I was
No.
very confused.
Not doing Star Wars.
Welcome to our Bad Batch podcast.
Gosh
Hi,
dang
Rachel.
it.
Ah, yes, the strong tradition of immediately dating episodes.
It wasn't me this time.
It had to be done. I don't regret it.
That's fair.
So let's just start off right at the beginning of the movie. We open with a series of OSHA violations at the park, which really sets the tone for how prepared we were to open.
I just love that he's like, all right, we're locked and loaded. Prep team, stand back. And then it's not locked at all.
Yep.
The dinosaur just pushes the cage back and eats a guy.
Yeah.
It's real unfortunate. He will be missed.
It also begs the question, if that guy hadn't been eaten, would there have been any kind of plan to safety check the park, or would we have just opened?
No, we would have just skipped straight to Jurassic World.
Yeah. And
We would've-
everything would have been so much worse.
We would have time skipped forward.
Just roll credits.
Speaking of, there is, from also the beginning, there's the theory that the kid that Dr. Grant scares was Owen from, like, the later movies. I think that was, like, disproved or something, but I really like that theory, and I'm going to hold on to it.
I remember hearing that theory. I remember also thinking, like, when the Jurassic World movies started coming out, there was a lot of people that were, like, really vocal that Lex and Tim should have been, like, the cameos of, like, them being adults now in the park somewhere.
That makes sense.
Those kids were too traumatized. They would never willingly go back to that place.
If Lex and Tim had run Jurassic World, nothing would have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Lex and Tim wouldn't have opened Jurassic World.
Yeah.
So the next note I have is my spared no expense counter.
Oh, yep.
Hit a whopping total of 5.
I thought there would be more.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of sticks. There were a lot of iconic lines in there, but spared no expense is a big one.
It's big because he actually spared every expense.
Yeah.
I never noticed before this watch through, but one of the reasons that we have the entire, like, corporate espionage issue to begin with is because he didn't feel like he was being compensated enough.
Yeah, Nedry did what he did because he thought he needed more money. And he's been constantly talking with Hammond about, like, increasing his pay.
Which, I mean, he was getting paid a lot. Like, they mentioned in the beginning, like, $2.5 million as a base offer. And then it's mentioned that they renegotiated finances, like, multiple times. So I can only assume it's gone up from that.
Yeah,
So, like, he was making good money,
but he could have been making better money.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's also a really good thing that he failed because, like, the other company that he's working for, I think it's, like, Enron, they cut way more corners.
Yeah.
Boy.
Can you imagine if they had a Jurassic Park?
Oh, gosh.
Is the company, this might just be coming out of nowhere, but is the company that tried to buy off the DNA samples, or did they eventually have, like, shareholder for Jurassic Park 2?
I know they come back. I don't remember if they're in 2. But someone does do some sabotaging in Jurassic Park 2.
Jurassic Park 2 was just a generally bad plan. Like, you took the park that failed, but it was mostly okay because we were contained to an island. You said, what if we opened it on the coast of the mainland?
Yeah, what if you just made them a lot closer? And then someone brought a T-Rex to the mainland,
Yep.
and that went about as well as you can imagine.
I do not remember anything about Jurassic Park 2. I watched it when I was very little, so.
Oh.
Ian Malcolm comes back, and his daughter is there, and she's a gymnast.
Is that a relevant plot line?
Yes,
It is, unfortunately.
Alrighty then.
One other thing that I really like about the Jurassic Park franchise, especially, well, specifically the early movies, is how much they were really trying to stay on top of what the current consensus for dinosaurs was.
Oh, yeah.
In all of their designs and the concepts that they were putting forward.
Yeah, because, I mean, at the time, that's what we thought dinosaurs looked like. I mean, they did cut some corners, like the velociraptors are way too big for what actual velociraptors were, but a lot of that is also answered in the, hey, we just kind of made up the parts that we didn't know with frogs. We just kind of patched it.
Yeah.
But still, other than that, it's very accurate for the time. And in fact, some of the stuff they did for this movie advanced our knowledge of dinosaurs, like in the real world.
So, fun fact about the size of the velociraptors. Originally, Steven Spielberg wanted them to be 10 feet tall. Because he was like, they gotta be big and threatening. Which also, during the filming of this movie, they
discovered the Utah raptor.
Yeah, which was a 10-foot tall raptor.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that they did get wrong about T-Rexes was that their vision was based on movement. Like, we knew at the time that that was completely false, scientifically, but a lot of people thought that that was true, which is why they had it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a nice little plot point. Otherwise,
Otherwise there is no
times
escaping
over.
a T-Rex.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Before we get too far in, I do want to touch back on this very nice, like, metaphor from the beginning of the movie where Dr. Grant needs to, like, buckle his seatbelt, but he just has the two female ends of the seatbelt and he ties them together. It's a real nice foreshadowing of the whole life finds a way thing.
Because, not to put too fine a point on it, but it took me a minute when we were watching the movie to realize it was because all of the dinosaurs are female.
Yeah, that took me a minute to understand as well.
Yeah, but it's very nice foreshadowing. It's, hey, life does find a way, and here's proof. He didn't have the correct pieces for the seatbelt, and he made it work anyway.
There's a lot of really good kind of foreshadowing points, especially one of the other ones that I really like is when he, traumatizes the kid in the beginning of the movie by talking
the future
about
Owen.
Yeah, future Owen. When future Owen gets traumatized and then later becomes a velociraptor trainer, he's talking about like the hunting patterns and how you're going to be staring at one, he's just going to stare right back at you, and then all of a sudden the attack is going to come in from the side, and then you get that exact same scenario played out at the end of the movie, with Muldoon trying to take out the raptor that he thinks is tracking them and ends up just completely getting blindsided by the clever girl.
Yeah, it's very good writing. Good job, Michael Crichton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of any of these events is actually in the book.
I read the book and I can't tell you. I can't remember. The book has a lot of more emphasis on like the chaos theory side of things. Like it's broken up into sections, and like every section, like there's like a pattern that's been formed, and you see like it expanding, and it like kind of explains like, oh, and then the next step you see like more consistencies appearing. And also the opening for Jurassic Park in the books is actually the opening for Jurassic Park 2, where the family is on the beach and she sees all the smaller green dinosaurs. And
The campies.
yeah,
I do like that scene. As morbid as that is to say now that I think about it. I really like the scene where the little girl gets eaten and her parents don't find her until it's too late.
oof. She survives in the book.
Yeah. Ironically, doesn't John Hammond die at the end of the first book?
Be a great thing. It's been a really long time since I read Jurassic Park.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing, is that in the book he dies, but then the movie did really well, so in the second book he comes back anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so it actually has led to this is not my theory, but there's this theory that like the Jurassic Park experiment was run multiple times because they were cloning, like they also made other clones of like people and stuff. It is a very silly statement to say out loud, but the idea is that they were just running the Jurassic Park experiment on multiple islands at multiple times. So like it went really bad here, but they were like testing it elsewhere at the same time also.
The Hammond verse.
Yeah. Chaos theory.
One of my other kind of fun facts that I really like about the movie, and it might be on IMDb, but there's a line in the movie where they say to Dr. Grant, like, oh, I think I'm extinct because now the dinosaurs are back and you can study them, so you don't need someone to dig up bones anymore. And that's actually something that was said to the practical effects guy when they were creating the movie, when we first saw the CG dinosaurs. They kind of said to him, like, oh man, you might be extinct if the CG is going to hold up like this.
Some good dinosaur humor about this man's soon-to-be lack of a job, apparently.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the combination of the practical effects and the CG is something that really stands out for the movie, because every effect on here holds up really well. And you can kind of look now and see, like, okay, yeah, you can see that's a little bit of, like, the CG, but for the most part, it's still really just strong.
Yeah, in a lot of places, it holds up better than some of the later movies.
Yeah, the CG was, for a movie this old, it held up very, very well. Not a lot of movies can hold up really well with CG.
Yeah. They also had a lot of practical effects that went wrong, but worked out in favor of the movie. Like
the T-Rex.
Yeah, so the T-Rex had so many problems with it. It was like the skin was this foam that was constantly getting waterlogged, so every time they shot a scene in the rain, they had to immediately like slap it with towels for an hour to try it out because it was getting way too heavy and that was making it shake. But then we watch the movie and the shaking actually looks pretty good because like it's, I don't know, it just adds to it. Or one of my favorite things about the movie was that when the kids are in the car and they're screaming because the T-Rex like breaks in, is a real scream of terror from them because the T-Rex wasn't supposed to break the glass.
And technically it didn't break the glass.
Well, its face wasn't supposed to be in the car with them.
One of the fun facts listed on IMDb is that during the scenes with the T-Rex, Steven Spielberg made the roaring noises with a megaphone at the time because they didn't have the actual audio. So it was just Steven Spielberg screaming into a megaphone and the actors trying not to laugh.
That's great.
That sounds like something Steven Spielberg would do. There's a really specific magic to a lot of the late 90s, early 2000s Universal films when you look at the things that went wrong in them.
Yeah.
Something that I've found out about like really recently, which isn't Jurassic Park, but it's still on that same thread, is when they were filming The Mummy, Brendan Fraser like almost died during the hanging scene because he was in some real danger there for a bit.
Another interesting fact from IMDb, there are only 15 minutes of dinosaur footage in the film.
Huh.
Yeah, that tracks. It's shot very much like a traditional horror movie or monster movie, where like they make a lot of time not showing them so that when they do pop up, it's like scary. Like how in the first Alien movie, the alien doesn't show up for most of it. Like it's always hidden. It's in the shadows. You catch a glimpse of it around a corner.
Yeah. There were only 9 minutes of the animatronics and 6 minutes of CGI dinosaurs.
Interesting.
Another fun fact. The Triceratops poop that they like go looking in, it didn't smell. It was made of clay, mud, and straw, and they drizzled it in honey and papayas so that flies would swarm near it.
Oh, interesting. I mean, man, that'd be terrible to shoot if it did smell like poop.
Yeah.
So can we talk about Nedry for a minute?
Absolutely. I'd love
great.
to talk about Nedry.
I have 2 points about Nedry. The first is that he's a terrible liar. He gets up and he's like, "All right, well, I have to go. I'm gonna get some sodas. Everyone wants some. The things are shutting down. I fixed this thing. The stuff's gonna be offline." He stutters for like a solid 3 minutes, trying to get through his excuse to go steal the dino DNA, and then he just
Dino
leaves.
DNA.
The dino DNA. And then also Nedry's an idiot.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody noticed too. Like that was such a sketchy way to be like, I gotta go do something unrelated elsewhere right now immediately. And everyone's just like, yeah, okay, weirdo. And then like everything starts going wrong. And they're still like, where's Nedry? Go to the vending machine. See where he's at.
Yeah, this guy took the longest vending machine trip. Why isn't he back yet? But yeah, no, he shuts off almost all of the security doors. Like he's smart enough to know not to mess with the raptor paddock, but he does shut off the security doors for every other dinosaur. Like, hey man, there are other deadly things here besides raptors. Why did you shut off everything and not just the security doors in the area you're breaking into? And then on top of that, he gets rid of any plausible deniability about him sabotaging it by putting his face and voice on the little, like, on the thing to taunt them when they try to shut everything down. Like, Nedry, that's still illegal what you did. Now they know you did it. Also, he dies very, very stupid way because he's trying to play fetch with a dinosaur.
Did anybody else think, and sometimes I do still think when I see it, that when you have that long shot of the Barbasol can getting buried in the mud, that's gonna come up again at some point.
Yeah, I had that exact thought. I was like, okay, so how's this gonna play in to the rest of the movie?
Yeah, like 5 movies later, it never comes back.
Like, I really thought that this was going to be like, this is how they get the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park 2, is this can, because it was like buried deep in the mud, like it stayed cold enough to keep the embryos safe, and that's how we got other dinosaurs. But the Jurassic Park 2 doesn't even take place on the same island.
Yeah, they don't go back to this island until, like, Jurassic World.
They also just kind of left all of the bones of the failed Jurassic Park.
Yeah, they really did. They're like, hey, we're building a new island on the same park. We're not going to clean up any of that old park. We're just going to leave it. We're going to build somewhere else.
It's gonna be on the opposite side of the island.
Yeah, they left, like, cars, and they left all of it. They just abandoned ship.
One of my favorite things, going back to the Triceratops, was we're going to pivot to the theme parks for a minute. Back in the early days of Universal, that you could actually go to, there was like a barn just off of the Discovery Center path that you could like go in, and you had like a little presentation with one of the team members, and then you got to pet the Triceratops that was just still kind of like laying down, but it had like the animatronic head, so it would like look around and it was breathing. And I could not direct you to where the entrance to this used to be, but I vividly remember getting to see and touch this dinosaur.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is floating on an island in my memory, not connected to anything else. But it's in there. I remember it.
It happened.
So, I want to go and talk about how the what's the like old guy's dude name?
Hammond?
Yeah, Hammond. He was very much like, I'm gonna get all these like professionals to come and see all the dinosaurs, and they'll be on board with making this theme park with all the dinosaurs, and like there'll be a lawyer there, and I'll have to try to convince him to let us do this and blah 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 for sponsors. And like they get to the meeting after seeing all the dinosaurs, and all the professionals are like, hey, don't do this. This is a bad idea.
Yeah, they really just lay into him.
They go, hey, these are wild animals. You introduce people, they're just gonna eat them.
Also, I mean, as a whole, this park is very poorly planned, but
Yeah.
but that besides.
And then the lawyer was like, let's do it. We'll make bank. And it's just like, maybe listen to the professionals.
Yeah, the lawyer really just cared about how much they would have to pay in insurance to insure the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much would the shareholders want? Much money can you make? That said, the lawyer brought Ian Malcolm, and what was his plan there? Ian Malcolm is a mathematician. Why was his input wanted for this? I'm not upset that he's there. I just want to know what the plan was.
Jeff Goldblum just like showed up on set one day and was like, I'm being in this movie.
Yeah.
Make a character for me.
Spielberg said, yeah, this tracks. This is great. This is going to be fantastic.
The first shot Jeff Goldblum actually did was him lying there with his shirt open. He wasn't in the movie before that. He just was there with his shirt open. They're like, all right, well,
Now we have to justify this.
we're going to do some reshoots.
I mean, I assume that he was there for like, hey, what could we predict that the dinosaurs are gonna do? Because he's like, he goes on about like how we just don't know what they're gonna do
Yeah.
in this situation where they're like from a long, long time ago. I don't remember how long. Millions of years, I think.
65 million years is the number they keep throwing out.
Okay, so like they're from 65 million years ago, and they don't know that they're in a different time period.
Honestly, they're not even all from 65 million years ago.
Yeah.
There are dinosaurs there from like 3 different periods of history. That's like if you made a human zoo and you took like cavemen and modern humans and you put them in the same enclosure.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure that none of them are actually from the Jurassic period.
I think it's like very heavily Cretaceous period.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
mostly Cretaceous.
If I remember correctly, T-Rex and a Triceratops are farther apart in like the timeline of Earth than a T-Rex and human beings.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the time periods of dinosaurs are a little hand wavy in this
Here's the
movie.
thing. Cretaceous Park doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
I mean, they said too at one point when they're ripping into Hammond about how it's just not safe. Dr. Sattler mentions like, you know, you've got plants in here that are super toxic that you just picked out because you're pretty. So I don't think that it's something that was at the forefront of their mind of like, oh, you know, there's a lot of different eras here in dinosaurs that we should be kind of figuring out and being cohesive. They said Jurassic sounds cool, and these are the dinosaurs that people know and love, and we're going to put them in a park.
Yep.
Yep.
We're gonna clone them, put them with make some frog DNA in there, and then they were selling it.
Yep.
I do really appreciate how much they retconned the frog DNA thing. It's not really a retcon, I guess, but later movies, when we knew scientifically that dinosaurs had feathers, they brought up that like, hey, yeah, none of these have feathers, and we're not gonna change the aesthetic. We're just gonna chalk that up to more frog DNA.
The frog DNA is an incredible patch.
Yeah.
You can just, anything that's wrong with your dinosaurs, well, you know, the frogs.
Put some frog in there.
It's a little bit of frog.
They really only had like 45% of any given dinosaur genome. The rest is all frog.
One of the trivia facts on IMDb, after directing Hook in 1991, Steven Spielberg wanted to start filming Schindler's List immediately, but Sid Sheinberg greenlit the film on the condition that Steven Spielberg make Jurassic Park before Schindler's List.
Interesting.
Dang.
Interesting.
It doesn't say why.
Yeah, I'm not
That
really
was the
sure where to
condition?
go with that information, but that's a fun fact.
He just really liked Jurassic Park, and he's like, all right, look, we can make this movie, but first, I want you to make this movie.
Which I think it's funny that Universal Studios bought the rights to Jurassic Park for $2 million before the book was even released.
I mean, sometimes they do that. They did that with Scott Pilgrim. They bought the rights to the movie before the last graphic novel was out. So Brian Lee O'Malley was writing both the movie and the novels at the same time.
Sometimes you just know, you say, this is a good concept, and I think that even if the book doesn't pop off, then the movie might, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's
And
fair.
because the movie did well, they got to... Michael Crichton wrote a second book where John Hammond is alive, and even though he died.
Another trivia fact from IMDb, this one like genuinely changes movie history.
Okay.
It was while supervising post-production on this movie that George Lucas decided the technology was good enough to begin work on the Star Wars prequels.
Oh, see, that's an example of CG,
CG that
not
doesn't.
hold up.
Look, he got overexcited. He's like, look, we have the technology. We're going to use it. And use it they did.
Too much. They
And then
used
they-
it too much.
And then they just kept using it. They're like, all right, well, we did... our CG didn't work, but we're going to re-release it with more CG.
The Velociraptor to pod racing pipeline, if one.
Yo, what if they had Velociraptors in pod racing? It's a hovering pod that's pulled by 2 Velociraptors.
I'd watch it.
I would watch that, yeah.
Now that's pod racing.
Just imagine if George Lucas thought that that technology wasn't good enough yet and waited like another 5 years to start making the prequels.
I feel like he would do even more CG, though.
Yeah,
the
but it
issue.
might be better.
It might be better, but the problem is that George Lucas isn't like a great character writer, and with uncontained power,
He might have not put Jar Jar in.
No, that was all his decision. He wanted another character for children to love, like the Ewoks. So he's like, all right, we're gonna make this guy. He's gonna be rubbery. He's gonna be dumb and clumsy. Comic relief. It's great.
Yeah, he genuinely thought Jar Jar was the next Yoda. So
Oh,
One
he
of-
was
I think-
wrong.
One of the reasons that the original Star Wars trilogy is so good is because there were enough people telling George Lucas no.
Yeah,
And like there's also like a lot of footage of Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher like sitting down on set and rewriting the scripts to be like, okay, this makes more sense, and we'll say it this way, and we'll say it this way. Like there's, I love this one clip where they're filming episode 6, and like Harrison Ford is still like tied up in the Ewok village, like laying down as they're trying to like work through the script changes.
yeah. Once the original trilogy was a smash hit, we came back and they gave George Lucas unlimited power, and he's good. He's a good world builder. He made an amazing, fantastic world. He's not great at directing or dialogue, which are two very important things in making a movie.
I'll be honest. Other than the first movie, I didn't mind the prequel trilogy.
How do you feel about sand?
I don't like it.
The prequel trilogy actually aged really well. I think it's just because like the people who were raised on it are growing up with it now, and we're going to see the same thing happen with the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, probably.
All the people from like when it came out are still just gonna hate it, but all the new people are just gonna be like, it's not that bad.
Yeah, like for all of my like griping and stuff, I do like the prequel trilogy because it's the trilogy I grew up with. I really genuinely enjoy the pod racing.
Gosh dang it, we did end up talking about Star Wars.
It was only a matter of time.
Star Wars finds a way.
If we didn't already do the joke about you living here, I would tell you to leave.
Still live here.
Go to your room.
No.
Well, I did have some other things that I enjoyed about Jurassic Park, at least in the cinematically. I feel like we haven't talked about the cinematography enough.
Oh yeah,
That's
no.
something that definitely needs to come up before we peace out. Between like, I mean, there are of course the really iconic shots, the when dinosaurs ruled the Earth banner, and the
Oh yeah.
every single time the water ripples, and it's this beautiful indicator that the T-Rex is on its way.
Seeing Malcolm's reflection in the water in the T-Rex footprint as it rippled because the T-Rex was coming back. That's great. It's
Yeah, that
brilliant.
was an
Such a good
amazing
shot.
shot.
I think that something that I really have noticed a lot more just kind of watching it through again and like keeping it at the, what is Jurassic Park's rating? It's PG-13 or PG? It's not PG. That's
I feel like
I think
PG.
it's PG-13.
I think it's PG-13. Either way, with the amount of violence that's in it, if they hadn't made some very strategic choices about blocking,
Oh yeah.
then we absolutely would have had a much more rated R thing.
We see the lawyer get eaten, but when they come back and they say, "Oh yeah, look, here's part of him here, and I think this was also part of him," that's very conveniently off screen.
Yep.
I think maybe the goriest thing we see is the goat leg.
Yeah. Or the Samuel L. Jackson's arm.
Or yeah, you know that's it. Samuel L. Jackson's arm.
Even there's the when the velociraptors are attacking Muldoon, like there's two palm fronds that are like shaking, and
Yeah.
you can see like the outline of the top of the velociraptor, and you can see sort of where he's lying, and you cannot see anything else other than these two branches just moving and moving.
It's very strategic.
Yeah.
Or Nedry. He has a very similar death. He's in the Jeep, but there's like poison splattered on the window, and you can kind of see his silhouette and the dinosaur silhouette as it's like attacking him, and you can hear him yelling, and it's a terrible, gruesome death. But there's no blood, and you can't really see what's happening in the car.
I'll be honest, I was fully expecting to see like blood spatter on the windows as it panned away, but then it just never happened, and I was like, Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did that dinosaur get into the car?
The window was open.
Yeah, he
It
literally
was?
left the door wide open. So like
Oh,
it spat in
okay.
his face and then went around him and got in the car.
I see.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, he
Because, like, the passenger door was closed.
yeah. Well, because he stopped, like as he was getting in the car, he stopped to look back at it, and that's when it spat poison in his face, and then he fell, and then he got up and got in the car. It's also entirely possible that there was just another one that got in the car while he was trying to play fetch.
It did look like the passenger side window was open. It could have just climbed in through the window.
It's also possible. The point is, Neju made a lot of mistakes.
Made a
But-
lot of bad
Yeah.
choices.
But cinematography, a lot of good choices.
The cinematography is probably one of my favorite things about the movie. Something else that I really love, and it's something that I love about the third Jurassic Park movie, but I thought about it watching this one because it's a callback to this one. Is there's a shot in Jurassic Park 3 when they're like on a boat kind of going down river trying to get away from the Spinosaurus, which is the big bad for that one. And it had been kind of raining, and now it's calmed down a bit, and they're on the boat and they're just talking, and all of a sudden you kind of like round this corner and Dr. Grant is there, and you see like the sunlight hit him and the music starts to swell, and he goes, "Oh, I forgot." And it pans out and you see just all of the dinosaurs like herding around the river, and the music swells, and it's this perfect callback shot to when he first sees the dinosaurs, and just like the beauty of the idea of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it is genuinely a beautiful shot. It evokes feelings of like the opening of Lion King when you see all the animals coming together. It's a lot like that. Or just look at this, not exactly nature, but just like thriving like animals and stuff. It's great. I am truly a wordsmith.
So I want to go back to the shaving cream can. We mentioned before that like when it like lingers on the shot of it getting covered in mud, they were like, well, this is gonna come back later. It just occurred to me the reason it lingers on that shot is because it's showing the audience this is why all this is happening, and it means nothing.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh, that makes more sense.
It was all for naught.
Yeah, there definitely is like a big message in Jurassic Park. I don't know if it's the primary message, but it's definitely one of the dominant ones. That the big issue here is that isn't necessarily that we're creating creatures again. It's more that we're trying to do this for profit. We're trying to monetize it, and we're creating something where they can't just like exist naturally. Like, you don't bring a T-Rex back and then just put it in a zoo cage. If you're gonna have these animals thriving again, like maybe Jurassic Park would have functioned as a preserve without the influence of other people.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily advocate for the resurrection of dinosaurs because as Malcolm brings up, like nature selected them to not be on the planet anymore.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying. There's a big message of like, hey, they meddled with things that they shouldn't have because they didn't respect it and they were just going for money. And maybe Hammond wasn't going for money specifically, but it was still like that greed of like, all right, I want to control this power for my own reasons, and not just he didn't respect it.
Also, he cared way too much about these dinosaurs compared to human life.
I mean, it was kind of, I don't know if it was his life's work, but yeah, no, his priorities were kind of out of whack.
Like, his grandchildren were out in this park, their lives in danger, and he's like, no, don't kill the dinosaurs. Just shut everything down, including the security systems, and reboot it all.
I'm going to be honest, though. I don't think that the lysine contingency was going to kick in fast enough to make a difference.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely
no.
not. It's like, all right, we're going to starve them of this one compound and wait for them to die. It's like, okay, well.
See,
how
they
many people are
said
gonna
that they
kill?
would drop into a coma immediately. I don't know if that's like scientifically accurate if you're missing that amino acid, but if it did kick in immediately and they just went into a coma, it would be relatively safe.
Yeah. Even if they had to start from scratch, it's not like we don't have all of this fresh DNA lying around now.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, if you kill the dinosaurs, that kills all the work. It's like, okay, make more later. You have them. You even got to see what went wrong.
One of my favorite trivia things that I've found so far, when they were considering actors for the role of Ian Malcolm, they almost had Jim Carrey play Ian Malcolm.
Oh, that would have been wildly different.
That would have been so different.
Talk about chaos.
I don't know if that would have been better or worse. Or just...
I mean, Jim Carrey at that point in time, I think he could have done a good job. But this is just so much a Jeff Goldblum character. Like,
Yeah.
Like, imagine Jim Carrey from The Mask, just as Ian Malcolm.
I mean, even back then, Jim Carrey had work where it was like, you can see, like, he's capable of having more toned down roles. But I don't think that they would have told him to tone down Ian Malcolm.
yeah.
And I think that Jeff Goldblum is very good at knowing exactly how much Jeff Goldblum he's allowed to put into something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flirting scenes would have been very
The
different.
flirting
So
scenes
hard.
would not fly if this
No.
movie came out today. Like, I was watching it, I was like, I can't believe he did this.
Like, when he talks about chaos there, he's just holding Laura Dern's hand for, like, a good, 5 minutes after they're done talking about the chaos theory, water droplet thing. He's just holding her hand and, touching it and, it's like, hey, man.
It was the hair for me.
Yeah, that was also just creepy. He, grabs a lock of her hair and tugs it a little.
There's not an implication in this movie at all that Laura Dern's character, Dr. Sattler, is, incompetent in the slightest. But it really, I just got these, bad vibes when he was like, oh, do you know anything about chaos? And she's like, oh, no, I don't. And he's just kind of up in the zone. I'm like, this is the worst exchange in this movie for sure.
I think Dr. Sadler was putting up with it just to make Dr. Grant mad. She was like, this is great. He's going to be so jealous.
Did anyone else spend so much of their life thinking that Dr. Grant and Dr. Sattler were endgame and it just never happened?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, they give off that vibe this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. They even, Ian and Dr. Grant even have a conversation about it. He's like, yeah, are you guys together? I've been hitting on her the entire time we've been here, and you haven't really said anything, but you have been over there, fuming, so... And then Ian says his really creepy thing about looking for the future ex Dr. Malcolm, or ex Mrs. Malcolm, or whatever. It's... Eee.
He ages really well into the second one. They get rid of a lot of these character traits, I think.
That's because his daughter is there.
It's because his daughter is there.
He has to be in dad mode now. The first movie, Dr. Grant's doing all the dad mode stuff.
Yeah, because by the end, he just adopts 2 children.
Yeah, he adopts Dr. Hammond's grandchildren. They have parents.
They're his now.
I want to go back to Dr. Sattler, at least just briefly, because she does have a bunch of just incredible moments in the movie between the Triceratops and just kind of diagnosing it, and I'm going to stay and I'm going to figure this out, and the absolutely iconic 2 lines, dinosaur eats man, woman inherits the earth.
That's real good.
And then later on in the movie, the we can discuss sexism in survival situations when I get back exchange.
Oh yeah, she's an incredibly good character. It's great.
Yeah.
She is also the most capable botanist since Mark Watney in The Martian. She knows about plants, she knows about dinosaurs, she knows about dinosaur behavioral. She diagnoses this dinosaur instantly, and she has never seen a living dinosaur this close before. She's I'm not saying she's a Mary Sue or anything. I think this woman is actually just that qualified.
They gave her something to do in the movie that was absolutely within her skill sets, and it shows.
Yeah.
Like, even in the beginning, like, she's got the leaf that she picked up on the Jeep right over there, and she's like, this isn't supposed to be here, this has been extinct. And like, they give her lines and just casual moments where she can have like botany drops.
Yeah. She's not just a good female character, she's a good character who is female.
Yeah.
That's important. It's not something a lot of movies did back then.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something a lot of movies do now.
Yeah.
Also, her fashion is just the most iconic.
Yeah, the denim on denim in the beginning, and then just, I wish that I could find khaki shorts like the ones that every single character in this movie wears.
Yeah, honestly. Like, the Jurassic Park style is something I wish I could pull off. I also don't have a lot of chances to wear it because I work in an office.
True.
Dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
That's true. I'm going to just start showing up to work in full Ellie Sattler, botanist of the dinosaurs.
Gonna show up to work dressed like Danny Phantom.
All right, well, this has been HQ Movie Review. I'm Rachel.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Heather.
Brandon, hit the button.
Don't tell me what to do.
Hit the button.
In memory of Josh, eaten by dinosaur, 2021.
You forgot what year we're in, didn't you?
I forgot what year it is. Do we want to do another take on that?
No, that's staying in.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I forgot to say goodnight, everybody.
Oh.
What's my one?
Good night, everybody.
Did it record Jack
Yes.
saying
Yes.
goodnight, everybody, over the ending?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We're gonna fix that in post.
What Josh is.
Josh,
Yeah.
please fix this in post.
Josh, how do I stop this recording?
That's a good question.
Because I don't actually know how, so we're just going to have all this extra on the end of
Hold
it.
on. Brother!
Probably could have moved away from the mic a little bit more for that.
He's coming. It's going to be fine.
The Velociraptor is like regurgitating him. We just
Yeah.
have to wait a little bit.
But
It was actually the Velociraptor is now in charge of stopping the recordings.
Yeah, we named the
name is also
Velociraptor Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, his name is Rex.
Joshua Rex
Yes.
Brown.
No, he can't be a Josh. He didn't win the Josh fight.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, you're right.
Do you think he's Saurus Rex?
Do you think he's Saurus Rex? Shut up, Tim.
I'm glad you died 3 times in this movie.
Tim almost died.
Man, one of these things we say is going to be cut in at the end, and we just don't know what.
Oh, I hope it's just this whole thing.
Yeah, we did
There's
the
just
outro,
an extra
and it just
5
keeps
minutes
going.
after the outro.
We have to get to that hour mark.
This is Josh. We're gonna keep making things for you to edit until you come out here and show us how to stop the recording.
I really like how in the third movie you can hear the guy's ringtone still going off after it's passed all the way through a dinosaur's digestive tract. Like, that is a very strong phone.
Was it a Nokia?
I think it was a Nokia.
Oh, that explains it.
I don't know if this is. Josh, if you're listening to this, can you please find us an audio clip of the Velociraptor in the third movie going Alan and put it somewhere?
Okay, but audio alone, it's just gonna sound like a dude saying Alan.
Okay. Well, I'll know.
That's what really matters.
Yeah, the fans will know.
If they're real Jurassic Park fans, they know. It sure is wild in the third movie how they 3D printed your Velociraptor's entire voice box
Yeah.
and then play it like an ocarina to communicate with them, huh?
Yeah, it's wild. It's like if someone 3D printed a human voice box and then blew air through it. It would just be a guy yelling. Why did they know what that meant?
I hate to tell you this, but that does exist.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. If I blew through a 3D print of a human voice box, it wouldn't make intelligible words that or instruction. I couldn't communicate with you just by blowing into it because it would just sound like yelling.
Josh, please help us turn this off. We don't know what to do.
There is a stop button, but I'm not gonna make another lost episode out of
I'm
this.
My gosh,
absolutely
That's
terrified.
If you make
We
another
wrote-
lost episode, I will literally come over and punch you.
I have not been the reason of any of the previous lost episodes.
So is this the first time we've mentioned the lost episodes?
I think so.
I mean, we're what, 8 minutes past the actual ending of this?
Oh, you thought that was the actual ending?
I think we should play the outro
We
a
need to
second
play the
time
outro
once
again.
Josh comes back.
Yeah, probably. He'll know how to edit this together and make it funny.
He's gonna record just a snippet of him saying, "And now the after credit show," and it's just this.
Yeah, this is our podcast within a podcast, post credits, where we talk about more random things than we talked about while we were actually doing the show.
This is a witch's curse where we're not allowed to leave until Josh tells us we can go.
We've actually been trapped here for like 10,000 years.
Yeah.
This is the Jurassic Park zone.
This is a cry for help.
The Jurassic Park zone. I don't know if we can say that technically. I don't think they'll sue us, but
Who's they?
you know.
I don't think we're allowed to say that either.
Yeah.
We're just causing all the problems, aren't we?
I mean, Josh did say he'd edit this one, so I guess this is all fine.
This is on him.
This is your own fault.
Yeah. Josh did this to himself.
So Brandon, why haven't you caught up with the Bad Batch yet?
Because I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race all day yesterday.
Yeah, that checks out.
You got something against RuPaul's Drag Race?
No?
Nothing specifically.
No, but today evidently I have something against you.
Yeah, D&D was really hostile today.
That was great. I almost killed 2 of them with a spider.
And yet it wasn't me. I was very surprised, actually.
Yeah,
You
I
were
really
next.
need to like level up or get enough money that I can fix my armor class or my hit points, because it was not hard to take them all away in one fell swoop, huh?
I mean, that was a final boss. So.
Yeah, it was the final boss of the dungeon, and also it was a challenge rating 8 like monster against 4 level 5 characters. So you guys were at a disadvantage.
That's why he gave us the buff of the NPC character.
Yeah. I gave you a level 10 cleric NPC for that exact reason.
Josh, we're just gonna keep recording a bunch of mindless nonsense until you come help us.
Charlie Sheen was considered for the role of Nedry.
That would have also been a very different movie.
That would have been very confusing.
I wouldn't have been a fan of that casting. I think this is a good.
Yeah, no, it's real good with Newman.
It was really loud. I could hear the mic
That
pick
was
that
so
up.
loud.
Yeah.
I was texting.
All right, well, I guess it's the stop button.
Alright.
Brandon, if you'll do the honors.
We'll play the outro one more time. Good night,
Okay, yeah.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Still my line.